Coming up in this Brightline construction update. This update is part 3 of my mini-series, looking at the progress on the eastern end of Brightline's New Orlando line from Interstate 95 to Cocoa Junction. Brightline's Orlando line is an all-new rail line that Brightline will use to get from the Florida East Coast Railway in Cocoa to the future Orlando station at Orlando International Airport. This update will look at the eastern portion of the line from the Interstate 95 State Road 528 interchange to where the line joins into the existing FEC mainline at Cocoa Junction, including Industry Road and the Cocoa Tunnel. We'll start at the Interstate 95 bridge and Cocoa Panel Tunnel. Here is the Interstate 95 bridge. The major structural work on the bridge is complete. Crews are currently working to finish up the sidewalls along with installing the waterproofing. There are currently temporary walkways along both sides that were used while crews were building the sidewalls. On the west side, crews built a taller wall along the back side of the embankment to help better separate the right-of-way from the neighborhood in that corner. Around the curve in the distance is where part 2 of the series ended. You can see that part in the link above. We'll now head down the ramp toward the Arch Panel Tunnel. Crews were actively in the process of spreading the subballast on the ramp. And here's the entrance to the tunnel. There are still some finishing touches being completed inside it. When I was filming, the eastbound lanes of State Road 528 were running across the tunnel, with the westbound lanes still using the temporary alignment around it. In the week since, all traffic is now routed across the tunnel and temporary alignment is being removed. And here's a flight back up the ramp. And here's a closer look at the 528's new alignment over the tunnel. There was equipment on site to pave the westbound lanes. We're now on the north side of the 528 to look at the other side of the tunnel. Once this temporary alignment of the 528 is removed, crews will finish up the embankment work. The tunnel portal is finished. You can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel around the curve in it here. The path the track will follow cuts right through the middle of where the temporary road alignment currently is. It will join up with the rest of the right-of-way that is already in place here. The sub-ballast is now in place all the way to the east from here. To the right here is the borrow pit that the fill for all the work here came from. Once the embankment is completed, this will be reclaimed as a lake. We'll now move east to Industry Road, and we'll start on the curve just west of it. Flying down the right-of-way next to the 528, and a signal cantilever has been installed. Only one track will be laid through here initially, but signals are already installed for the second, as this will likely be the first area to be expanded. In the distance is the panel tunnel we were looking at earlier. We are now flying east toward Industry Road. Around the curve here, the first rails have been threaded and are ready for ties to be laid. Each piece of rail is 1,600 feet long. Now above Industry Road, and you can see the rail coming up the ramp to the bridge. Here is the Industry Road Bridge. Flying down the ramp toward the Cocoa Tunnel, and rails threaded here as well. You can see the FEC's unit train on the Cemex balloon track on the right. The Industry Road Bridge itself is finished and ready for track. While only a single track initially, all the pilings are already in place, so the beams will just need to be dropped in when the time comes to double track it. The initial layer of ballast has been spread across the bridge. We'll finish up at the area between the Cocoa Tunnel and Cocoa Junction. Track has been laid up to the entrance of the tunnel, and initial ballast has been spread through the tunnel. At the time this was filmed, the ballast had only been dropped on the track, but not tamped or regulated yet. This turnout is temporary to connect to a track that will be used as a runaround and storage track for the work trains headed west. The runaround had not received ballast yet. In the distance here is Cocoa Junction, where the line joins into the FEC main line. While this update was initially supposed to end here, enough had changed by the time I came back 3.5 weeks later that I decided to add it on to show some major track laying progress. Flying down the ramp east from Industry Road, and the ties had been laid and rail had been attached. The track is across the bridge and around the curve to the west. It is built as far as the rail was laid. In the distance, you can see FEC local train 916 passing. Here's a low pass across the bridge headed east. Next up is ballast to make the line train ready for work farther west. When the track is eventually tamped, after the ballast is dropped, it will be straightened out to the final alignment. A little closer to the tunnel, and the first pieces of track equipment had made it through the tunnel the day I filmed this. This tamper and ballast regulator passed through the tunnel earlier in the day to become the first rail equipment through the tunnel. they had been working on the track on the other side of the tunnel. Now on the south side of the tunnel, and you can see the track laid through the tunnel. It is only a matter of time before the first work train passes through the tunnel. And flying south here, and you can see the freshly tamped and regulated track. More ballast still needs to be dropped here. Another change in the 3 weeks since the earlier part in this video is the installation of this new high-wide defect detector. It holds sensors to check for anything that may have shifted in transit and is hanging off the cars or sticking up. The end of the runaround track is here. That track will eventually become the second main line. And here's a more zoomed in look at Cocoa Junction on the other side of Michigan Avenue. The eventual second main line to Orlando is in place, but will only be used for storage initially. And here's the view of the 5 tracks that will be through here. The 2 on the right are the FEC mainline to Jacksonville. Middle is the lead to the Cemex City Point plant, followed by the mainline to Orlando and runaround track. These signs were recently installed to alert any crews that are riding on the side of a rail car of the closed clearance through the tunnel. The tie stockpile here is also decreasing as more of the line west is being built. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe. Also check out my social media pages.